Your Creative Push, episode 129.
Because, when you're just starting out with art, you're always insecure what you can do and what you can't. But art has no rules, so you can do whatever you want.
Welcome to Your Creative Push, the podcast that pushes you to pursue your creative passions. I'm your host, Youngman Brown, and my guest today is Laura Baumeister. Laura, aka That's Just Laura, is a talented 16-year-old artist from Germany who has nearly 6-digit followers on Instagram, in which she shares her art, mostly geared towards fashion. She also has a YouTube channel in which she shares art-related videos and tutorials. And Laura, first of all, thank you so much for coming on the show. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about how you got started, because you are young, you're only 16 years old, but you already have a history as an artist. So I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about how you got started as an artist.
Yeah, of course. So, hi first. Of course,
Hi.
Yeah, I'm still a student, so I do also have to balance my time between drawing and going to school. I'll attend the 11th grade next year, so that's probably going to be pretty stressful. How I got started in art, basically, when people ask me when I did start drawing, I've been drawing ever since, to be honest. Of course, I started as a little child with coloring books and whatnot, and then I started getting really interested in fashion design, and that was basically when I first ever showed my drawings to a lot of people, because I got featured in a magazine with my fashion designs, and I really liked that. So I continued drawing, and I just started doing own stuff, and I joined an art club at school. I had an amazing art teacher who really helped me a lot. He hasn't taught me exactly, drawing techniques or something, but he has taught me a lot of morals. For example, that art has no rules, so you can do whatever you want. Because, when you're just starting out with art, you're always insecure what you can do and what you can't. But you can really just do whatever you feel like. And he also provided the opportunity for me to join an exhibition, because our school was organizing an art exhibition, and he asked me if I just wanted to join with a couple of pieces. So that's what I did, and that's basically how I got started out with art. Around that time, I also created my Instagram page, and from that exhibition on, I joined an art association, and this gives me the opportunity to have at least a couple of exhibitions per year. So that's what I'm doing right now.
And would you say that the kids do the kids at school know how talented you are, and then also kind of your popularity online?
Some of them do. From time to time, somebody asks me about it, but it's not that much of a big deal, actually.
Oh, I think it's a big deal.
All right.
You're very modest. Well, that's really cool. And so you do have school going on, and I know how stressful school can be, trust me. But are there any other things that, as you're sitting down to draw, or, if you have some free time, is there any things that hold you back? Any resistances that you have?
Well, one thing, of course, if you're putting out your drawings, and sharing it with the world, is always criticism that's there. As online, there can be haters,
Mm-hmm.
The more followers you get, the more haters come along, basically. But yeah, you sort of got to deal with that, and it can really drag you down. And the same applies to exhibitions, basically, because, there are always curators who decide which drawings can be in an exhibition and which can't. And yeah, they can be quite hard sometimes too.
Do you have any advice for kind of getting over that, for, not paying too much attention to what the haters have to say?
Well, I always like to say that no matter how many people are criticizing a piece of art you made, there will always be at least one person loving it in exactly the way it is. And usually it's even the other way around. There's 10 good comments to your picture and maybe one bad one. I know that the one person that doesn't like it gets so much closer to you than the 10 lovely people who really love your art. But you just gotta try to, get over it and not let it get too close to you. And as well, you can learn from it and maybe make it better next time.
Yeah, it's so tough. I think the ratio could be even higher. We've talked about that on the show before, but I think it could be 100 to 1.
Yeah,
100 good comments to one bad comment. It's just that one is just poison. It's one of the toughest things to get over, but bravo to you for being able to kind of brush that off at such an early age. Could you take us back to like your worst moment? I don't know if you have any, but like a worst creative moment.
Well, actually, I have had one. And I think it's probably when my art teacher really wanted me to try out new things. Because usually I've always done my really small sketches and drawings, and he wanted me to paint on a massive canvas. And I've never done something like that before, so I did start doing it, but honestly, it went horrible. Like, I had no idea what I was doing, and I just saw that it didn't look great, and he was checking on me like all 5 minutes, and basically what I painted just got worse and worse. So I was so embarrassed, and I actually was almost crying at home because I was so embarrassed of that. I ended up taking the canvas home with me over summer break and finished it. And there it was like no pressure anymore. Nobody was checking on me. I could just do whatever I wanted. And it was so much better. It was actually fun in the end. And the painting turned out fine because it's now exhibited at my school. And I loved it that much that the year after I decided to take a canvas home over summer break again. So actually it turned out to be great. I just didn't want to get started at first.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I think that's a really important lesson you brought up is like to take the pressure off sometimes. Like when you do have somebody like standing over your shoulder, checking on you every 5 minutes, there's like a pressure to, I don't know, to impress them or to I don't know, do what they want.
Yeah, exactly.
As opposed to, like you said, being home and having no pressure. I always like to tell people, you have a secret sketchbook or, have a secret whatever where there's just all the pressure's off and you're like, I'm never going to show this to anybody ever.
Yeah, exactly.
And then then you can find the fun in it. So that's a really cool story. And also, don't give up. Even if it's going poorly, just finish it, I think that's an important lesson.
Yeah, because these pieces always turn out to be the best ones in the end, actually.
Yeah, you're right. That's cool, though. Do you find yourself wanting to continue to draw bigger now, or is that just kind of like a side thing?
Well, I do actually prefer drawing a little bit, smaller pieces. But this year, again, I've just gotten my canvas for summer break already in set, so I can do that again.
So cool. That's cool. And how long are your summer breaks?
6 weeks.
6 weeks? Okay. So not as long as in the States. In the States, we get 3 months.
Yeah, well, you're lucky.
Yeah, I guess. On the flip side, could you take us to maybe one of your best moments, one of your most triumphant creative moments?
Well, that was probably, as I said earlier, when I got my opportunity for the very first exhibition. Like, when my art teacher asked me about it, I got really excited. And, this exhibition was really what got everything started in art for me. Because that was when I had the opportunity to also join the Art Association, which I am a chairwoman by now, by the way. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, it went really well. And without my art teacher, without that very first opportunity, it would not have happened. So that's probably the greatest moment.
Now, would you have any suggestions for somebody who doesn't have that, like, that motivation, that great art teacher? Because I know that's usually an influential thing for a lot of people. For me, it wasn't until my senior year of college that I got inspiration for writing. So like right at the end of my education is where I got that kind of a motivation from a great professor. What about people who don't have that kind of a person in their life? Do you have any suggestions for them?
Well, I guess they sort of have to be that person themselves and just force themselves to get started, and maybe it turns out to be awesome and they could share it with others and try to get their opportunity in it, and maybe others realize that they really are good and then they can push them again.
Yeah, it's like if you don't get that push, you have to push yourself.
Yeah.
Or listen to a podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
So you have school going on, you have a lot of things happening with your different galleries and stuff like that, but do you have a formula for balancing your time?
Well, actually, I do have to say I always found time to draw because this is just like where I can relax. So even if school's really stressing me out, at least 20 minutes to half an hour a day, I guess you can just sit down, listen to music and doodle something or whatever, because that's when I can shut my mind off from everything else. And that's really important. I know at the art club at school, there was a girl and I was talking to her and she was like, wow, I do actually love drawing too, but I never have the time for it. And I was like, how can you not have time for drawing? I mean, if that's what you really love, you will find time to do it.
Yeah, you have to make the time. And like you said, it should be enjoyable and not a job.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it's just trying to carve out that time and just make it a part of your life. I think that as you get older too, it gets tougher with all, money responsibilities and stuff like that. And it's just trying to maintain that for your entire life.
Yeah, right.
So speaking of that, what does art and creativity bring to your life?
In the first place, I guess joy, because I really am happy when I'm drawing and just listening to music, because I don't really have anything else to care about then. But also it's satisfying if you have success in art, as like with the exhibitions, and if I see people really like what I'm creating, it's really great as well.
Excellent. And do you have like a greatest inspiration or somebody that really motivates you?
Well, I don't actually have like a person or like a role model, but if people like my drawings, they are my motivation and they make me keep going. So yeah.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's like that positive feedback, and just trying to ignore the negative ones. But yeah, the more and more people that kind of reach out to you and, tell you that you inspire them or that they love your work, that's what motivates me. So I can definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite book or a YouTube clip or anything else that you draw inspiration from?
Well, if I'm searching for inspiration to draw a picture, I usually like scrolling through like something like We Heart It or Tumblr, Pinterest, something like that, and just pick randomly like one of the images that I really think like it looks great, and I just try to draw it myself. Or, well, I'm not that much into reading, but I do love watching movies, so there are great ones with like unique scenes as like Life of Pi, when the tiger's like on a boat and the sun's setting. This is an amazing image, and I could totally imagine that being a painting or something. Or like Alice Through the Looking Glass, like the world she falls into, it looks so stunning, and you could totally just draw or paint that.
Absolutely. It's some of my favorite movies. It's like you could just hit pause and then just like create your own story based on that. And I love that Life of Pi reference. It's a beautiful movie, and I love that scene. Yeah,
exactly. It's really great.
So do you have any plans for your future? I know you have a very bright future ahead of you, but have you started to think about what you want to do after school?
Well, thank you so much in the first place.
Of course.
Well, I actually just want to, keep my exhibitions going as like a hobby, because if art really becomes like a job, it might not be that much fun anymore. So I actually want to get like into the film business anyhow.
Cool. Have you started to kind of work on that as far as, learning about that?
Yeah, well, I've done a couple of internships and stuff like that, and I just, really enjoy that. It's amazing. So I hope that maybe that could turn out to be a job later.
Oh, very cool. And I think that you're just such a smart young woman and so talented, and I think that you just have this drive, and I think that you will be able to, accomplish whatever you set your sights on. I think that you really have a bright future ahead of you. But with that being said, it is time to end this interview with the final push. And this is where I ask you to reach through the microphone and grab the shoulder of one of the listeners that you've already really inspired today. Maybe they're younger and looking for inspiration, or maybe they're older like me and just kind of looking for a way to get back to that original inspiration that they had when they were starting to create, and that drive that they had when they were really in love with their creative pursuits. And just give them your best words of advice and really push them to pursue their creative passions.
Well, I just say that you have to have the courage to start, and you always have to remember that there's no rules in art, and so there's no right or wrong. So you can do whatever you want, and just make sure to have fun and enjoy what you're doing.
I love it. Laura, thank you so much for coming on the show today and for giving us all that push.
Thank you so much for having me. It was real fun.
Oh, of course. And you can find Laura on her Instagram account, That's Just Laura. And on YouTube, you can search That's Just Laura. We'll have all those links on our show notes page at yourcreativepush.com/That's Just Laura. Laura, thanks again.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Oh, I love it. This was one of those episodes that was shorter in time, but packed with a lot of punch. And I hope you guys saw that. I always like to pull out quotes for the Instagram page. You can head to instagram.com/yourcreativepush if you don't follow us yet. But I always like to pull out the, really awesome quotes from the episode. And there were a lot of them from this episode. So I really appreciate Laura for, being so young, but also being so old, just being so wise in what she says. And she already knows a lot of the struggles that come with being an artist, that come from being a creative person. And, for young people who listen to the show, and I know there are quite a few of you, I see you on Instagram and you already have so much talent, but you also have so much potential. I just have to say, stick with your dreams, stick with whatever it is that you think about all the time and that you'd rather do than anything else over all the, quote, normal things that, maybe your peers are doing, or that maybe people are telling you to do. And even if you don't have that kind of a support from the adults in your life, I am telling you to keep pursuing your dreams, keep doing the thing that you love. And we are here for you if you need the support, and this podcast is here for you. And I know that anybody that follows the Instagram page, anybody that comments on anything, we're all part of this kind of community, and we're all here to support each other, and we are all going to support you doing, the thing that you love. And just, I can't tell you enough, just keep doing it. And if you don't have a lot of the resistances that we talk about in the show yet, you probably will, you definitely will at some point in your creative career. So just prepare yourself and never stop creating, never stop. And this really applies to the older people listening too. Stuff comes up in life and you have this fascination with art, you have this fascination with your creative pursuit, and suddenly you find yourself years later, or a decade or two later, and you have not picked up a paintbrush, or not picked up that instrument, or not picked up that camera, or whatever it is that you do. You find yourself wishing that you had that drive that you had years ago. I hope that you're able to find some inspiration in this episode to get back to that creative calling and just keep going for it, whatever, going for it means to you. Sometimes it's just as easy as, locking yourself in a room for an hour and just going for it, and not thinking about everything else outside of that door. It's about getting back to yourself the way that you used to be, and with no pressure, like Laura was saying, to be able to work on, that large canvas over summer break with no time constraints, nobody looking over her shoulder, and, more importantly, no expectations. The same exact thing applies to you. You can post your art on Instagram, but for now, it's just about creating. It's just you and yourself, and all of those decisions about showing it to someone, or to many other people, those decisions can come later. It's just about taking that big canvas home and, locking yourself away and just finishing it and enjoying it, and then wanting to do it again. This thing that was your worst moment, this thing that was a huge burden almost to you before, when you have people watching you, you don't have to worry about that when you just lock yourself away and get back to yourself. And it's hilarious. I'm saying all of this. It's so easy to forget that Laura is 16 years old, but she's definitely, not a child. I was so impressed with her, and not just for her art, but the way she handled herself and just some of the profound answers that she said. So just thank you again, Laura, for coming on the show and for just being a really amazing role model for young artists and creative people. I mean, she's a chairwoman of her art association already. Like, wow. And I can't wait to see where you're heading, Laura. So thank you again. And that is all I've got for you all today. Thank you for listening to the podcast. Hopefully you were inspired to go and get your work done. So go and get it done. We will be here for you on Wednesday if you need the push again. But until then, go and get some amazing work done, and I can't wait to see what you do. Have a great and productive couple of days, and we'll see you then. Bye, everybody. Never miss a push. Head to yourcreativepush.com/subscribe to find the easiest way for you to subscribe to the podcast.